high-ranking officials from FIFA, the sport's governing body, arrested in an overnight raid in Switzerland, the result of a sweeping FBI investigation.
More than 4,000 workers will die before a ball is kicked off in 2022.
It alleges that former FIFA Vice President Jack Warner tried to help buy votes with envelopes containing $40,000 in cash. And when someone objected, he said, "If you're pious, open a church, friends. Our business is our business." Which is not just awful, it's factually incorrect. Because opening a church is a fantastic way to make a shit ton of money.
The World Cup 2022 will be organized in Qatar. Decision taken by the Executive Committee on the 2nd of December 2010 and not reversible.
Good evening, my name is Christian. Today we're here at the FIFA headquarters in Zurich, Switzerland. Thank you for tuning in to tonight's special report of the FIFA scandal. Our team has traveled far and wide to investigate the ethical implications of FIFA's corruption scandal. Today, we will uncover the ethical issue of bribery in the bidding process from the FIFA World Cup, the underlying causes of this corruption, and the implication it has on stakeholders. And finally, we will propose a solution to FIFA based on the evaluation of 3 possible alternatives. Without further ado, let's explore FIFA-gate.
The acronym FIFA stands for the Fédération Internationale de Football Association. This international governing body is based in Zurich. Founded in 1904, the association comprises 209 national associations and is in charge of organizing the football tournament known as the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, and most international football tournaments. Formally classified as an association of associations with a non-commercial, not-for-profit purpose. FIFA nevertheless generates millions of dollars annually in profit by selling its TV and marketing rights. And thanks to big-name sponsors, for example Fox, won the rights to showcase the 2018 and 2022 World Cups for a reputed $425 million. And plot twist, the rights were extended to 2026 without opening up the bidding process to other companies. In 2014, Brazilian World Cup generated a whopping $2.6 billion in profit. The FIFA governing body is comprised of congresses that meet every year to discuss the association's implementation, with each member association accorded one vote irrespective of its size or its footballing strength. Soccer, or association football as it is called in some parts of the world, has an estimated 3.5 billion fan base, which amounts to about half the world's population. The World Cup is the most prestigious soccer tournament in the world, as well as the most widely viewed and followed sporting event. The viewer rate exceeds even that of the Olympics. The total audience of all matches of the 2006 FIFA World Cup was about 26.29 billion, with about 715 million people watching the final match, which amounts to about a ninth of the world's population.
So, tell us what really happened.
FIFA, the world's largest sports non-profit organization, has been charged and is under further investigation for deep-rooted corruption beginning 25 years ago. Bribery, being the underlying reason for corruption, has been embedded in FIFA's corporate culture and was committed by over 25 members of the organization.
So why is the US involved?
The reason why the US is involved is because a lot of the allegations of corruption and bribery have occurred in the US, in meetings held in the US or in US banks.
So what's Sepp Blatter's role in these allegations?
Sepp Blatter is FIFA's president who just doesn't seem to want to leave. He ran for president for the 5th time right after the arrest occurred and won. It is not a surprise that he has been accused of buying votes. But just 4 days after his win, he resigned.
Interesting.
It's January 2010. Al Majid and the rest of the Qatari bid team are in Luanda, the capital of Angola. A conference of FIFA officials is taking place in this hotel. In attendance were members of FIFA's executive committee. Each had one of the 22 votes that would decide where the 2022 World Cup would be held.
So what did you see in Angola?
I witnessed the host offering different executive members money in exchange for votes.
You were there.
Yes, I was there in the room, yes.
And how much money?
1.5 million.
Wow. Per?
Yeah,
per vote?
Per vote.
How many people?
To 3 different members.
And what did they say?
The members? Oh, well, they agreed. I mean, it didn't take much convincing, let's put it that way. It was quite simple.
Shortly after the conference in Angola, Al Majid was fired from her job as a media consultant. She says because she was blamed that other bid committees were receiving more favorable media coverage. If there is a single defining moment of Sepp Blatter's presidency, it is this.
The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
Even now, the decision still mystifies.
Qatar? There's between 1 and 50 reasons why that is an awful idea. There are now allegations that some FIFA executives took bribes to put the World Cup in Qatar, and I hope that's true, because otherwise it makes literally no sense.
It is a very small but very wealthy nation. But it makes absolutely no sense how Qatar was chosen. Temperatures are so high during the soccer season that it would make it impossible for players to play. 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Recently, their pristine image was shattered when the Guardian newspaper broke the story of Qatar's World Cup slaves. Tens of thousands of workers are living in squalid, slave-like conditions, dozens being worked to death every month.
Conservatively, about more than 4,000 workers will die before the first match begins in 2022.
It is clear that the primary cause for the rise in corruption lies in the lack of corporate governance. Directors of organizations will only be able to reasonably act in the principal's interests if they have no directly conflicting interests. You don't have to look further than the reign of FIFA's recently former president Sepp Blatter, who held the top position for an astonishing 17 years, to see that this is not the case. Directors should only be appointed for a limited time period in order to prevent them from getting too close to the company. The ethical issue here is FIFA's use of ethical relativism versus ethical absolutism when conducting their World Cup bidding in 2015. Ethical absolutism claims that there are eternal, universally applicable moral principles and that right and wrong are objective qualities that can be rationally determined. Ethical relativism is defined as a position of relativism which claims that morality is context-dependent and subjective. Relativists tend to believe that there are no universal right and wrongs that can be rationally determined. It simply depends on the person making the decision and the culture in which they are located.
In 2012, FIFA decided that it needed to combat the negative headlines filled with these scandals, and so they appointed a special committee to oversee the governance reforms. While this appeared as a step in the right direction, there's still evidence that officials are against changing their old practices. FIFA has avoided some of the most straightforward recommendations on corporate governance. For example, disclosing President Sepp Blatter's salary still remains secret. The organization has also balked at the thought of including independent directors on its powerful 25-member executive committee. This is a standard corporate governance practice in the private sector. Consider the allegations of bribery among the FIFA officials. The absolutism view would say that bribery is always wrong. There's no discussion. According to Crane and Matten, the absolutism view would go on to argue that FIFA's officials facing a corrupt party should certainly not engage in bribery, and depending on the policies in place, should also take the matter into authorities. However, under the relativism point of view, with the morality being culturally dependent, bribery is more acceptable in some countries such as Qatar and Russia. So the officials could just go on believing that bribes are acceptable in certain countries. So accepting a bribe is just how business works. It is somewhat amazing that these officials did not even think that they would get caught. This is consistent with some research that we have on the psychological experience of being in power. Power does not always corrupt, but it can lead to self-interested behaviors for some leaders. And who was making sure that these officials acted properly? With little oversight, huge incentives, and a domain focused less on morality, you can see this large-scale corruption start to happen. And not only were legitimate bids of countries discarded, those countries offering bribes wasted millions of dollars that should have been spent for services for their own citizens. The hosting decisions were not based on merit, but rather on greed, and at a great cost to societal welfare. And the benefit was simply to line the pockets of a few greedy individuals. Moreover, the reputation of the sport on the world stage has been severely tarnished.
While many argue that hosting global sporting events like the FIFA World Cup brings in the benefits of tourism and foreign spending, consider the social effects of the most recent edition in 2014.
Privilege to think that this is where football began, this is where football started in the 19th century, and it's one of our best exports to have spread around the world. And I always say to people who don't love football, is there anything in your life that makes you jump up and scream for joy, and then have another 40,000 people doing it there with you? And it's an incredible feeling.
Fans have been withdrawing gradually over the years from their favorite sports. So I'm not sure what to believe in. Excuse me, miss?
Yeah.
Do you mind an interview?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You're a soccer fan, right?
Yes. Do I look there?
Yeah, that's camera. I'm here. So could you comment about FIFA's recent scandal?
Sure. Well, I used to love soccer so much, but after listening to a corporate scandal questioning FIFA's legitimacy, so many times. My heart is just not in gaming. I don't trust the sport. I guess you could call me a dying fan.
Well, thank you for your time.
No problem.
At the end of the day, it's the fans that drive the organization's profit. TV audiences, game tickets, or consumer merchandise. However, in a global poll of football fans organized by NGO Transparency International, 69% said that they lost confidence in football's governing body. 43% stated that they're enjoying the sport less after learning about the scandals. Frequent changes in traditional kickoff times due to programming demands and unprecedented ticket rates are just a few examples of how many fans are beginning to feel that the beautiful game is being used as a business rather than for glory.
According to Brazil's sports ministry, the initial budget for stadiums and transit infrastructure for the 2014 World Cup was 25.5 billion reals. It has grown to 28 billion reals, nearly 3 times what it cost Germany to host the 2006 World Cup. This led to outrage and protests from Brazilians who felt that the money could have been better served in improving poor public services, especially education and healthcare. Perhaps nowhere better illustrates the World Cup's problematic legacy than the Estádio Nacional Mané Garrincha in Brasilia, the country's capital. At a cost of £600 million, one of the world's most expensive stadiums is currently being used as a makeshift bus depot. The stadium has cost the city over £1.3 million since it opened.
You have to give them credit. FIFA literally went into Brazil, paved paradise, and put up a parking lot.
This is CNN.
On the panel here today with Daksha Sharma and Christian Grover, both ethics consultants here to discuss how FIFA could potentially go about dealing with the ethical crisis that they are currently in. So what do you guys think?
Well, obviously they have to increase their transparency. They should employ third-party auditors to regulate business operations for sure.
I completely agree.
Yeah, right? This can alleviate many of the shady, under-the-table dealings that can occur when there is a conflict of interest present.
Exactly. And many of the people in positions of power within the organization, such as Sepp Blatter, the ex-president of FIFA.
Yeah, man, that guy is nuts. They need to limit the length of terms for directors for sure.
Yeah, they use their power to attract bribes for their own personal gain at the expense of the organization, the fans, and communities all around the world.
Like awarding Qatar the rights to host a World Cup? I mean, Qatar? Really?
Exactly. Alternatively, they could present detailed reports of the bidding process free to the public.
Yeah, it's a great idea. It's egoism. These people hold positions of power only looking to further their short-term and long-term interests at the expense of others who may be involved.
Exactly, Christian. Consider Qatar, for example. This is a country ranked 113th worldwide in football, with a permanent population under 1 million people, a history of human rights abuses, and a climate that is unsuitable for football in the summer months, when the World Cup is historically held. Yet, they won the bid over countries such as the United States and Japan. Countries which were undoubtedly more suited to hosting the World Cup.
Both of these ideas are great. Both serve to increase transparency, not only within the organization, but also for fans in countries vying for the right to host the World Cup.
Yes. You know, Anderson, by implementing these strategies, FIFA will begin to adhere to corporate accountability and will begin to repair their tarnished image in the public opinion.
So what both of you are saying is that FIFA should either hire third-party auditors or alternatively create detailed reports on the bidding process. Alright, thank you very much. We've run out of time. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
FIFA has obviously failed to be ethical in multiple ways and is now paying for it. But what could FIFA have done differently, if anything? There was only one person with the answer.
The socio membership method is the optimal solution. It will be chosen to alleviate the issue of corruption in FIFA. The system operates as a democracy, where members all have equal voting rights and can elect the leader through this system. There's minimal barrier to entry for members, so this method is inclusive to anyone who wants to support their team. The socio system builds a sense of community among its members, something which can be lacking with fans spread out all across the country. If a football club can be owned by its supporters, then why can't it be expanded to include the country's team? As well, it is expected that profits made are to be reinvested into the club and community, with the goal of club growth and community enrichment at the forefront. FIFA itself is supposedly a non-profit, yet it makes hundreds of millions of dollars in profit a year. Implementing a socio system would allow profits to better be reinvested into the host country's infrastructure, something which historically has been extremely lacking after the World Cup ends.
We, or I, cannot monitor everyone all of the time.
This method is the best because it places football back into the hands of the fans and away from the grasp that corporations and lobbying have on the game. Consider Caro's four-part model of corporate social responsibility. In its current state, FIFA fails on the ethical level, with all of its bribery and its inner politics tarnishing its reputation, as well as causing it legal troubles. If the selection process could be run in a democratic, transparent process, it would alleviate many of the current allegations of illegal activities which plague FIFA every time there is a new selection process. You can contrast the socio system with the way FIFA currently operates using stakeholder theory. In its present state, FIFA operates under a traditional management model with Friedman's perspective. It is run with only the gain of the owners and shareholders in mind, without importance placed on fans, players, and society at large. This allows countries such as Qatar, who should have no business whatsoever in hosting a World Cup, win the bidding process through bribes and corruption. However, with the socio system, the stakeholder perspective now falls under Freeman, and all of FIFA's surrounding elements are considered to be stakeholders. Fans are now given say in the selection process, and there is now a meaningful interchange between the organization and the stakeholders which allow it to continue running. All in all, a socio system allows FIFA's focus to return to football and the fans which continue to sustain it. With this system implemented, the grasp that corporations and individuals have on the selection process can be lessened, while power can be transferred to the stakeholders and community who allow football to bring so much joy to the world.
I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect.
Applications of FIFA's corruption scandal. It went too slow.
Qatar, sorry. Soccer season that it would make absolutely no sense. It'd be
Why did you stray
120 degrees Fahrenheit. Human
Turns of 90 turns.
That's okay.
It's all good.
3, 2, 1, long dramatic pause, action.
Implementing these strategies, FIFA will begin to adhere to corporate accountability and will begin to repair their tarnished image in the public opinion.
You gotta say adhere.
It's not what I said.